Okay.
First off, I mean, the craziest fun fact, or just like the best icebreaker fun fact I've ever read was possibly your life story about how you are the daughter of international yo-yo champion, a professional foosball player. I mean, with literally these athletic skills, how did you end up here? How did you end up as a comic?
Thank you. As a clown, yeah. Well, I mean, my parents, it's obviously that like those are cool athletic things, but they're weird bar sport things too. So they both pursued their passions, and I think it made me feel like I could pursue my passion too. So, my dad is a trumpet player in the Spokane Symphony, and my mom is a retired teacher now. But yeah, they both also really love their weird side hobbies. So yeah.
That's awesome. How did you get to what kind of inspired your finding this passion?
So when I was at WSU, and I initially thought I was going to be a high school math teacher. I wanted to teach at Cheney High School where I went. I wanted like a very safe path. I was pretty freaked out at the thought of pursuing entertainment as a career, but I just got to a point where I was really miserable in the math classes, and I switched to communications and had to take a public speaking class. And I kind of started turning my public speaking assignments into comedy skits and sketches, and my professor pulled me aside one day and was like, you should go do the open mic here or the improv class, because you're clearly, he's like, it's great and this is amazing, but you're taking this like so much more seriously than the other students. Like everybody else was just trying to get a grade, and I loved doing it. So he really encouraged me to go get my feet wet with it and see what I thought. And then it was just so addicting. And now it's been 12 years, and I feel really lucky to do what I love for a living.
So cool. And you were born in Spokane.
Born in Spokane, yeah.
Describe like a night at the Spokane Comedy Club. Like what's the vibe like? What's the energy?
Spokane Comedy Club is such a magical place. It's so fun, and I feel like Spokane needed a place like that for a long time. When it is sold out in there, the energy is crazy, and Spokane crowds are some of my favorites to perform for, not just because it's where I'm from, and I feel like we all kind of can connect on, like if I joke about Northtown Mall or something, I love that those are jokes I can only do here. But yeah, nobody's pretentious. Everybody just wants to go have a great time, and it's just one of my favorite places to perform.
That's awesome. I've yet to come to a show there, but I'm really looking forward to it in the future. I know.
I'll be there August 25th through 27th, so you should,
oh my gosh,
I know it's a ways away, but mark your calendar. Yeah.
No, seriously. I mean, maybe that's by the time Omicron will be all done with us. Anyway, so that's a great reason to go. Well, you tweeted on the day of Bob Saget's passing that you were lucky enough to open for him years ago. Walk us through that night. Kind of talk a little bit about that experience and what led you there, and what that was like performing for someone like that.
Sure. So that was back in 2016, and I was living in Seattle at the time. And Bob was headlining Snoqualmie Casino, and his agents had reached out to a local comedy producer there and said, hey, we need an opener for Bob. Can you send us 10 of your best local comics YouTube sets, basically, like a link. And so the producer reached out to me. I gave him one of my YouTube links, and then Bob watched all 10 comics sets on YouTube, and he ended up picking me. And that alone, I was just freaking out because it's Bob Saget, and I was 25. I had never opened for somebody big like that yet. And I showed up that night, and the second he walked in, I was probably like 40 feet away from him, and his first words, he just started like shouting to me like, oh my God, you're amazing. You're so funny. Where have you been? And I was like looking over my shoulder. So I was like, he's not talking to me. This is crazy. And he just had that kind of energy and that warmth where it was so important to him to convey when he found somebody talented, and he really wanted to make them feel good, and that's exactly what he did. I was just, it was such a great night, and after my set, he told me that he wanted to help my comedy career if he could, and gave me his email. By the way, sorry, I just realized my cat's just casually.
No, such a great element. It's really adding to it.
Has no idea she's on TV. She just is running the show. Anyway, so he gave me his email, and I still have it on a scrap of paper. He wrote his email down and gave it to me, and he just said, any way I can help, let me know. And he ended up getting me my auditions at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood and the Comedy Cellar in New York, which to a young comedian, you are like, I don't even know how somebody goes about getting in there, right? To even get their foot in the door, to get an audition. And the process is really tough. So to have somebody like Bob Saget believe in you when you're young and go help open those doors for you, it's invaluable. He helped my career in a way that, like, that kind of domino effect, once I got past to those clubs, it's impossible to quantify, because so many things came from that. And he came on, I used to have a podcast called Cooked. He came on it as a guest. It didn't have very many listeners, but he just came on it because he was that kind. And I just think that when somebody is that big of a pop culture icon, they really don't have to give their time to anybody. And he went so out of his way to help anybody that he believed in. And I feel so lucky that he was one of my mentors.
Wow. Has his mentorship inspired you to mentor your own set of, or your own one comedian, and how has that kind of played out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that I've been lucky enough to experience with Bob, and also I opened on tour for Jim Norton for 3 years. And if you are fortunate enough as a young comic to get asked to open for comics on the road, you learn how important that is, that if you then have the opportunity to become a headliner and bring somebody on the road, to pay it forward and help people in any way you can. So I'm always looking for those opportunities. I'm on tour right now, and I have a group of like 4 or 5 comedians that I kind of rotate through, getting to feature at different dates on this tour. And it's the greatest feeling. I try to share their things on my Instagram if I can help get them more followers. And you have to. This is such a hard career that if you can help, then you should.
Wow, that's really cool. You're giving it back. That's awesome.
Thanks.
I guess this is kind of maybe a tough question, but if Bob were alive today and you could, have this one last moment with him and, share something with him, what would you tell him?
Oh, girl, you're trying to get me to cry on television.
No.
Ooh, it is early in the morning for this.
It's too early.
I would just want to really re-emphasize how much his help meant to me, and that I feel so lucky to have had him in my life, not because he's amazingly talented or famous or anything like that, but because he's so kind. And I think when you have somebody like that who really strives to see things in a positive way and give out love constantly, it just makes you want to do. It's contagious. And so, I would just want to thank him for every positive influence he's had on my life.